Hello there YouTube, Mr. Mo here, Stick Survival. What I've got for you tonight is actually a 511 Moab 6 bag. Now you've seen this bag before because I loaded it up and done it as a brew kit bag, and I bought this bag primarily to go walking with. However, what I've chose to do now is kind of keep it as a vehicle base kit. Where I go camping in the winter can really be quite isolated, so if I get stuck up there, like if I'm working or indeed if I'm walking, not necessarily camping, then you know, it would be a bit of an effort for me to get out of there. So I'm wanting to basically keep a kit in the back of my car and keep it there for basically emergency reasons. It's not necessarily a grab bag or a bug out bag, it's just a few bits and pieces that I've thrown together in that Moab 6, and it actually works really well. Normally I would really like to bring these videos outside in a natural environment, but due to work constraints and weather basically, I'm going to do it tonight here in my shed of dreams. So just let me readjust this camera and then we'll get stuck right back into it. Cheers. Okay, so here we've got the Moab 6, absolutely fantastic pack. Like I said, I bought this a few months ago, and basically the idea behind this pack was to have a small rucksack that I could put basically my brew kit in and go walking around the woods. And over the last few months that I've had this, I've actually attached myself quite big onto this rucksack because I've really started to really enjoy everything it has to offer. And what I wanted to bring to you is basically my version of an emergency bag. Now, it's not necessarily, like I said in the intro, it's not necessarily a 72-hour kit or a 24-hour kit or anything like that. It's a few bits and pieces that really I wouldn't be without in my vehicle. So, the outside of the pack. On the front here of the pack, you can see I have this strap thing attached, and this strap thing at the moment is black, but if I take the velcro off, I can actually take that out and turn it around, and it's a reflective strip which takes the small lithium cell batteries, the coin batteries, and basically one of them in there, and it gives you a few modes. You've seen this on the H1 for those of you who've watched the channel, and that stays on there. And I do think it's really important that if you basically build an emergency kit bag, then the prime function of that is to get yourself rescued. So the more things that you can put in there with lights and signals and get yourself noticed and rescued, the better. So that is the reason as to why this is on the outside of the pack. So rather than, well, actually I will actually show you what that's like, because it does actually, it's just the way the lights are, it can just be threaded through the molly straps here and down, and it works out quite well, I think. It just fits in between them there, and then that can just go over there and be secured so it doesn't come out. I mean, it's not going to come out of there anyway, but I do think it's a good idea, and I think originally this is for mountain bikers, and they put it around their arm so they can be safe and be seen, so they say. So anyway, moving on, the other thing I have here is a small bungee, and you have seen this before, and I'll come back to that later on. This small bungee I actually use for the millbank bag. Like I say, when the millbank bag comes out, I will show you that. Now, what else actually before we dive into the pack? I have here a little sort of glow fob. These are designed for going on zipper pulls or jackets and that, but it does show up and glow in the dark at night, which is really handy should you put your pack down and want to locate it. The other things I have on the outside of this pack is a Phoenix whistle here up on the basically the shoulder pad effectively. It's a really good whistle from Phoenix, and that just sits in there, it's held in by the strap, and again for location I think it's really important that you can get your hands to these things very, very quickly. And then other than that, I have a small pouch on the strap which I keep my Leatherman in. Again, it's always good. Leathermans, they are really heavy and they are really bulky, but just in the last few weeks I've been away quite a lot down to Southampton, and I obviously couldn't take this on board. It was hand luggage only on the plane. I couldn't take this on board with me, and I would probably think that I could have done with this about 5 separate occasions on that few days away from home. I could have really done with one of them, but hey ho. The top pouch here of the 511 Moab 6, absolutely perfect for keeping GPS's, phones, whatever it is you've got basically is going to fit in here. If you're using it as an EDC bag, perfect for MP3 players, etc. I choose to keep my sat map GPS in there. It just fits it. It was almost made to measure, and it really does work well in there. And then basically on the back here you have what originally is designed as the water bladder pouch, and what I keep in there is a couple of foil blankets. It's actually, in fact I do believe this is actually a really big foil blanket which can be used in shelter building, and I'll come on to that because you're probably thinking why would you use that in shelter building. But the type of shelter that I build, or I would build in a emergency situation, is the A-frame, and this can really help keep the rain off you, and it can also be used as a fire reflector, etc. And again, location markers, everything like that can be really good. You can actually cut these up into small pieces and stick them onto trees, etc. to aid in getting yourself found. So for the size and weight of them, I would recommend, if you've got any little sort of cubby holes in your kit, stick these in because they are really useful. I mean, you can do all sorts of things with these really. They're pretty multifunctional and they're really good, and I've just got the Ranger bands in there to sort of hold it all together because it does tend to sort of ping open at the most awkward moment, which is not particularly convenient, but I do have quite a few of them rammed in here. And then the other thing I have in here is an American Woodland Tarp, and it's a very small one. It's actually a poncho, I beg your pardon. It's a poncho. It is really lightweight and it's really good. And again, if you make that A-frame shelter, I mean, I know like in traditional bushcraft you don't want to put anything over the apex of that before you put your thatching on, but I'm telling you, when it's absolutely chucking down with rain and you build that frame, put your foil blanket over and then put this over that foil blanket, so any heat that's in that shelter stays in the shelter and continually just builds up in the shelter overnight. It is a real lifesaver. So it's not particularly sort of the bushcraft way, but then this bag is not built for doing bushcraft. It's built as an emergency bag, and anything you can do in that situation is what you need to do to keep yourself alive. And this is a great little bit of kit, and it stays in there all the time. The added advantage of that is if you are walking out of a particular situation, then you can keep yourself dry, and because it's a poncho, and the nature of the poncho, it lets air in and out, so you don't get that really hotty sweaty way which you might do with some of the modern day waterproof jackets, etc. I mean, I know they say Gore-Tex basically, you know, it breathes and it keeps you dry and that, but if we're all honest, we still get soaking wet with sweat on the inside even if you're wearing a Gore-Tex jacket. So I find this actually a really good outer shell to wear because it allows plenty of airflow in and under it, and you get the advantage of keeping your basically your gear slinger dry as well, so it's a real bonus. So that is the reason as to why that is in there. So basically, moving on, and I think at this point it's also, like I said, I was wanting to try and more on this video was to try and get more into the school of thought behind, or basically not necessarily behind, but try to get into the way as to how I think when I plan these kits out. And one of the first things that I think of when I'm building any kit is the sort of 4 priorities of survival according to the rules of 3. So I won't bother going into the rules of 3 because anyone who's really into that should probably know it. If they don't know it, you can always email me and I'll explain it to you. But basically it's shelter, fire, water and food. And just as a quick rundown, it's 3 minutes with basically without air, 3 hours exposure to the elements, 3 days without water and 3 weeks without food. So basically they are your priorities of survival, so always make sure that I cover all of them in any kit, and it doesn't matter if it's an Altoids tin or if it's a rucksack. If you can address all of those, then you're going to be, or technically speaking, you should be alright. However, there's a flip side of that. We all don't go out into the woods to get ourselves into a survival situation. So the other ones that I always think of is navigation, illumination, communication, first aid and hygiene. And I say those quite confidently because if you think of navigation and first aid, they're the 2 skills that if you don't get right, the chances are you're going to end up in that survival situation. So you really want to hammer down and get yourself well equipped with map reading, not using GPS as actual proper map reading. Again, study the natural ways to navigate with stars and everything, and make navigation a big part of your skill sets for going out into the woods. Because chances are it's going to be the lack of that skill that puts you into a survival situation. Same as first aid. Probably not yourself, but more as a member of your party or your group or a friend or whatever. They get into a sticky situation. If you can't help them out, they may be, basically might not be able to walk or etc, and then you kind of feel duty bound to stay there, and one goes off for rescue, that kind of scenario. So again, really good first aid skills will help prevent these situations ever arising where you need to fall back onto the 4 Ps, according to the rule of 3s anyway. And again, illumination, you need to be able to walk during the night basically, so illumination's a big thing. And communication is really important, and that's going all the way from having a mobile phone and a spare battery, or indeed a charger to charge that mobile phone, all the way right up to the point where communication also includes leaving a route card at home for other members of your family, giving them the times when you should be back and so on and so forth. And by doing all of those things correctly, you should never ever need to get yourself into a survival situation. The other ones is really out with that would be tools, and for those of you who are fans of Dave C and his 10 C's of survivability, you'll know the importance of tools. These things can't be replicated outdoors, so you must carry them with you. If you don't, you're going to have a real difficult time. And the only other one I would add on to that is training. It's absolutely no point building yourself an Altoid survival tin that you keep in your pocket all the time if you can't use anything in it. All you're doing is going to make yourself severely miserable, which is going to just crash your morale down to 0 level, and you're going to have a real hard time. Whereas if you start off with a kit like this, gradually moving down when you can filter out what you need and what you really need, and moving down a scale each time, eventually you'll get to the point where you can actually go out and spend the night in the woods with nothing more than what you've got in your pockets. And then once you're at that stage, you can consider yourself trained. But I would probably advise everyone to make up a kit somewhere in the region of this size and go out and practice these skills first. So anyway, enough of the lecture, moving on. So those are the kind of categories that I always think about before I pack a kit, and as each item comes out here, it relates absolutely 100% to one of those categories. If I can get it open. So, first up, in the front pockets, in here I have a red waterproof bag, and this is fire. One of the two things that you're going to do straight away is shelter, which is the foil blankets and the tarp. The next thing you're going to do is light a fire. So sort of without digging all of this out, there is a few key items in there. Most of it is cotton buds, etc. There's some rubber inner tube tires in there, or pieces of a rubber inner tube. Cotton balls, you've seen them before, the mini tampons. I have a fire steel here, and I have this windmill lighter here. Now this, again, I would only ever use this for signalling purposes. This is if you have to build yourself a signal fire, if you are indeed there for a long time, which hopefully I'm not, but should you be there, then you need a means to light that signal fire really quickly, and therefore I would keep this lighter because it is windproof, and it's fairly, in fact it's a really reliable bit of kit. I think I've only filled it up once since I've bought this about 2 years ago, and it's still working away perfect. And basically the idea behind that is to quickly get over your signal fire and hit it with this. The fire steel, the end of that has actually fallen off in here, and what that is actually a piece of an old file, which works really well for striking the fire steel. It also has the advantage that you can use that against flint. Should you have to make char cloth, it's a backup. You can use that on the flint to produce a spark. And that's that. So that's basically the fire kit without going into the fire option too heavily. That's in one of the front pouches. The other thing I have in there is a small bit of card with duct tape wrapped all the way around it. At the other front forward pouch, I have what I call my heat sheets bivvy bag, which, believe it or not, has been used several times, and actually, you know, I rant on about this all the time. It is an absolutely brilliant bit of kit. It really is. And for those of you who have not seen my channel before, if you go and search for under my channel A Night in the Woods, you'll actually see this in action, where I spend a night in the woods with a similar type kit to this, but it's in a Maxpedition Versi pack. No real preference between them in any way, shape or form. I'm just trying out different bags. This one, the advantage of this one over the Maxpedition gear is basically the price, and I really like the way this is organised. But my heat sheets bivvy bag, absolutely splendid. I mean, if you think about it there, you could use that silver foil sheet as a bit of a ground sheet, then your heat sheets bivvy bag, or indeed you could fill the heat sheets bivvy bag up with leaf litter and use that as to keep you up off the ground. Use your foil blanket to wrap around you under the tarp. There's loads of different options there depending on the availability of materials in the area that you'll be in. Next up is a fishing kit, and on the fishing kit I actually have just taped on a little a tick tool. Ticks are an absolute nightmare up in Scotland, especially in the summer months, and they're horrible, nasty bloodsuckers, and basically as soon as you get one you want it off, just in case of Lyme's disease. But I have here again, it's got various tapes around it. There's medical tape on here, there's gaffer tape, and then inside here it's just a whole range of I've got a little bit of cord there with some bobbins with various strengths of fishing line, threads, there's needles, there's basically fishing hooks and everything in there. I won't dig it all out. This probably could be a video in its own right, but that's in there, and I call that my placebo fishing kit because, to be honest, and there's a little bit of bank line there with it as well, to be honest, the chances of catching a fish, you know, it's more to keep the mind occupied. If you get one, bonus, but it's going to take a bit of patience with a fishing kit like this, but it is doable. So I'm going to bring this forward a little bit to get it in focus along with my chair. Next up, and sorry, that would all fall into the fire, food and shelter category, that lot. Next up in here actually have a little pair of scissors, which comes in handy for a whole multitude of things, even right down to cutting that silver blanket up into various shapes for whatever your needs are. Here actually I have a jar with petroleum jelly in it, and again that would be to saturate the cotton balls to help with fire lighting, and I keep that separate as well. It just sits in there. Good bit of kit. And then what next? Okay, this little pouch here I have going into here. This is my little first aid kit, and to be honest, it's just a few bits and bobs. There's a few moleskin, we call them Compete here in the UK, but they're moleskin patches for blisters. There's a suture kit which can come in handy. There's a little, sorry I'm not in frame there, moleskin blister kit, suture kit, little bottle of TCP antiseptic which can come in handy for a whole load of things, and then in the back compartment here, without hauling it all out, there's basically just some alcohol wipes, some burn gel, some plasters, there's a few aspirin, paracetamol tablets, there's another suture kit in there, and then just another couple of band-aids. It's not a comprehensive first kit by any means. It's basically just a few sort of items in there that can help on a rainy day, so they say. Next up, waterproof notebook along with a pen. This is one of the, it's a Fisher easy for me to say, it's a Fisher Space pen of some description, can't remember the one, but it's a cracking little pens. It works really well. Again, that can help with location. You could leave notes here and there. Hygiene wise, half a toothbrush and a little bit of travel toothpaste comes into the hygiene department. It's always nice to be able to brush your teeth, in my opinion. Spork, yeah, I chose the titanium spork because there's just something a little bit better eating off a metal utensil as opposed to a plastic one, so really that's the only reason I went for that. It's a little bit more robust, so you could probably, if you needed to, you could use that for a multitude of things that could help you, as opposed to a plastic one which would, in my opinion, would surely break. Bit of first aid again, just sun spray. It's sunscreen, it's factor 30. I probably have no idea why it's in there because you know, if you know anything about the UK, we don't actually get any sun here, and when we do, most people don't bother even putting anything on because they want to feel what it's like to burn. And then in here, one of the big things, the difference between this bag and my little sort of survival pouches is when I've used them in the past. I mean, I'm a big guy. When I've used those in the past, I've been absolutely starving. I mean, yeah, sure, a little bit of porridge goes a long way in the morning, but it just does not match a comprehensive sort of ration pack. And I will open this up and go through it with you, but I've sealed it all off here. And basically, in fact, we'll just open it up and basically we'll talk through it. It's sealed with a good bit of gaffer tape here. I'll stick that there so I can reuse it. And then inside this bag I have a brunch bar and some dry fruit, which is a good snack. I have a pot noodle, which is basically, and that's with some chilli sauce in that. It's basically, I'm sure you guys know what a pot noodle is. If not, just all you would need to do is search and you would soon know what it is. Pot noodle, really good bit of kit. I have pepperoni type sausage stick here, 100% pork at £1, packed full of fats and calories, which is all good in that kind of situation. Chicken noodle soup, which makes a litre, excellent. Again, I have a bit of blackcurrant jam, beef bouillon cube, a few coffees with sugar. I have, oh, in here actually what I have is, there's a piece of chocolate in there, a little piece of dark chocolate, which goes really well with a cup of coffee. Again, sugar and carbs, and then the porridge oats. So basically the meals in here as follows would be, in the morning there would be some porridge, and you can pop in that jam and mix it in, make it tasty. So there's your breakfast. Your basically snack would be a brunch bar with a bit of dried fruit, and then an evening meal would be your pot noodle with the pepperoni stuck in top of it, or you could have that separate. You could even just put it on the end of that spork there and sit it on a log in a fire, and it would just cook away a treat. But ideally you'd want to put it in your canteen, which I'll get to in a minute, and then that way any fats and things that are coming out of there go in your canteen and then ultimately inside you. There's no point in really cooking it, although it's easy to cook over an open fire. You actually lose a lot of the fats and nutrients by doing that, and then you just end up eating for the sake of eating, because you're not really getting any benefit to it. So that would be the forward compartment. This secret pouch that's in here is a fish spreader, which I'll come on to in a second with my canteen. That comes in handy just for lifting it in and out of the fire, and can be used for several other things. Oh, opening this up, the two zipper pockets inside the Moab. My first one, you guys no stranger, or should be no stranger to me by now, ranting on about the Millbank bag, and that bungee that was hooked on the front basically goes like so, through there, and then can hang from a tree and drip into your canteen to filter the water before you boil it. Great bit of kit, would highly recommend that you get something like that. Top pouch is the heavy cover lid for the Dave C. Canton, I forget his name now, sorry, I do apologise, the Canteen, and that's the heavy cover lid for it, which is in here. Next up, a shema, used for all sorts of things. As a cloth to wash yourself, you can make char cloth out of that, you can protect your face from that. There's loads and loads of uses that you can use for those things. All you've got to do is search online and you'll see many of them. Top here is just a small cloth bag. Inside there is a large mosquito head net, which can be used as a fishing net. It can also be used as a purse net for catching rabbits. Again, you can basically tie that off round your belt, and there you've got a little bit of a foraging bag for having a walk around, getting yourself some nuts and berries and things, especially this time of the year. Roll of bank line. No introductions to this stuff, really handy for a multitude of things. Cordage is massive, and then here's it's a necker basically. Again, it could be, you could use that as a filter, you could use that for many things, but it's quite nice just to pull over your head, and it keeps your head quite warm, so it's kind of like a hat substitute really, basically on a cold night. Moving on, another one of these little pouches in here, and inside here is a bar of soap. That's all that's in here, bar of soap. Again, that goes with the hygiene. The ability to wash yourself and keep your teeth clean is, I think, really, really important in the outdoors. By buying soap, you can also, if you need be, you can wash your clothes with that. Next up, let's say any spare nooks and crannies in your pack, throw in these survival blankets. They work a treat, really good for signalling and everything. I have quite a comprehensive sharpening kit in here, a few stones, fish hook, sharpener, Sharpie pen. There's a piece of leather I cut there to use as a strop. There's some oil in that in there to basically keep my knife maintained, and I have to keep my knife maintained because if I don't, Chris Grant will kick my ass. So I need to keep my knife special. Half of this, by the way, is actually not necessarily or even necessary in a survival kit, but I really just wanted to show you the potential that this actually has as a bag. Is huge for an emergency kit. You can just, as you can see, you can get tons and tons of stuff into there. Tools, Laplander saw. You guys, again, you know the drill on this. Absolutely fantastic bit of kit. The other alternative to this, if you're making a smaller kit, is the I forget the name, I do apologise, just give me 2 seconds. It is this one, Pocket Boy, yeah, which I use for smaller kits. Laplander saw in there, perfect. And then this is what I'm talking about, is my new knife. Now, I actually designed this knife myself and Chris Grant made it for me. And at this point, before I go any further, before the video is done, I would like to thank that guy 1,000,000% for what he's done. Originally, I designed this knife, U-handle, Carpenter steel. Now, I'm not hugely familiar with the ins and outs of all these different steels. If you are interested in ever having a custom made knife, I can assure you Chris Grant is the person who can make that happen for you. It's not too far away from the original design that I made. However, after our consultation with Chris, we changed the odd little bit here and there on it, and I'm so glad I listened to him, because I mean this is a stunning piece of kit. It is absolutely beautiful, and just in case you're in any doubt, it just destroys paper. There is nothing, even if you double this paper over, I mean, it's just amazing. An absolutely amazing knife. So thank you very much, Chris, for making this for me. You're a true star, you're a true friend, and the ability of what you can do with a piece of metal is amazing. So again, thank you very much. I'll stick it away. I really hope you guys want to ask questions about this knife, with all the properties of the steel, etc, etc, and then you can either get in contact with me and I'll forward it on to Chris, or you can contact Chris directly. I will put his website up along the bottom here when I do the edit on this video, and please feel free to contact him and get him to make you a knife, because there's absolutely nothing better than having one that you designed and had made for you. Anyway, moving on. All that's left is my canteen, and I put the canteen inside this waterproof bag. It just stops it all rattling together. It gets sat in the fire quite a lot. Well, actually this one doesn't, because this one is, it does normally come out of there a lot easier, but the bag has decided to fold itself in today. Is the Dave C and Rob from Canteen shop. That's your name. Sorry Rob, I do apologise. That one there is a spare one that I have purchased. I loved this so much that I bought another one, like a proper Muppet. This is the one that I use on a basically a daily basis or a weekly basis when I'm walking, etc. But I was so impressed with it that I bought myself another one, and that one is just going to sit in there brand new until I need it for a rainy day. And although getting that Canteen shipped across to me here in the UK was very expensive, it has been worth every single penny of it. Now, I've no preference to wear. I bought one from Rob at the Canteen shop, and that transaction was absolutely as smooth as it can go. I bought the other one from the Pathfinder school, and again, that transaction was as smooth as it can go. However, I did get stung at customs on one of them, but that's not the Pathfinder school's fault, and nor is it the Canteen shop. So on that basis, I'm not going to say which one I did get stung, because I really don't think it matters where you buy it from. If you get stung at customs, you get stung at customs. It's as simple as that. But the service from both of these stores from America to the UK was outstanding. And in fact, if half the UK companies could actually do that, and they would actually learn a trick or two from these guys about customer services. So all you people out there in Britain who sell things over the internet and then it appears through your door 3 weeks later, get a grip, because these come from America in about 10 days. So come on, guys. But anyway, apart from that little rant, brilliant bit of kit. Use that in connection with the fish mouth spreader, and it makes it's a one-stop solution to all your needs. You've got your water bottle here which you can boil, you've got the burner at the bottom, you've got the cup which you can easily make. You can make your chicken noodle soup inside the water bottle while you're doing your pot noodle and your sausage. It's as simple as that. It's a really brilliant bit of kit, and I'd highly recommend it. And basically most of this kit that I've shown you today inside this bag is actually surplus to requirements, as in from my normal needs. I really have made a conscious effort this time round to keep this stuff in that bag and put that bag in the back of my car, so I don't have to go and take my Canteen from one pack to put it in here because I'm going up the woods. I want to keep this bag packed all the time, and then whenever I'm going away for a walk and the weather's bad or there's a possibility that I may get stuck in that area, this bag goes in the car. And I know from everything here, I mean, if it happened to me where I got stuck in the woods with all this kit, it would not faze me in one bit. It would actually be a really enjoyable evening regardless of the weather with all the stuff I've put in there. So I hope this has helped you in any way, shape or form. If it's not, then thank you for watching, and I hope you kind of get something from it. Like I said, the way I do my kit, just to recap on that, is the 4 priorities of survival is shelter, fire, water and food. The other concerns I have is navigation, illumination, communications, first aid and hygiene, and then tools. And on top of all of that, training, guys. If you train with this stuff every weekend or every opportunity you get yourself familiar with using it. When that day comes where you need it the most, then you will enjoy it and you won't be sitting there freezing your tits off. Okay, so I appreciate you watching this video. I wish I could have brought it, or rather I wish I could have done this video outside. I do prefer a nice natural solution, so do forgive me with being in my shed of dreams, but it's nice just to hang out here every now and again and build these little kits and share it with you. So without rambling on too much, thanks very much, and look forward to hearing your comments and look forward to my next video. Thanks very much.